A rainy night in Berlin. Streetlights reflecting on the churning waters of the Spree River. A woman's figure struggling, flailing, slowly sinking beneath the cold, dark water. Suddenly, a dog leaped in, barking, swimming, pulling her toward the shore. His owner, a man in a worn coat, holding a small girl's hand on the riverbank, rushed to help. When the police officer coughed up water and opened her eyes, their gazes met. No one knew that this moment would change 3 lives forever, and the entire community around them. Let me tell you about Jonas, 37 years old, a mechanic, living a simple life in a small apartment in Berlin with his 8-year-old daughter Anna and their dog Max. Max was a German Shepherd mix, loyal, protective, Anna's best friend. Jonas's life hadn't always been this quiet. 3 years ago, he had a wife, Maria. She was beautiful, kind, full of light. And then in one terrible moment, a drunk driver ran a red light. Maria never came home. Jonas kept a handkerchief of hers in his coat pocket, faded, worn from being touched too many times. He never talked about her anymore, not even with Anna. He just worked, fixed cars, paid bills, took care of his daughter, and tried to survive each day. Anna was his world now. 8 years old, bright eyes, too smart for her age. She understood more than Jonas wanted her to. She knew why Daddy sometimes stared at the empty chair at dinner, why he kept Mama's picture face down in the drawer. But she never asked. She just loved him, and Max, and tried to be brave like her father needed her to be. The night it happened was cold and wet. Jonas had worked late at the garage, a difficult repair that took hours longer than expected. He picked Anna up from the neighbor who watched her after school, and they walked home along the river. Their usual route. Max trotted beside them, his leash slack, his ears perked. "Papa, I'm cold," Anna said, pulling her jacket tighter. "I know, Liebling. We're almost home." The rain fell harder. The river was high, churning with the storm runoff. And then Max stopped. His ears shot up. His body went rigid. "Max," Jonas called. "What is it, boy?" Max barked. Once, twice, then bolted toward the river. "Max! No!" Jonas shouted. But the dog was already running, faster than Jonas had ever seen him move. And then Jonas heard it, a voice, weak, desperate. "Help! Please!" Jonas's heart stopped. He grabbed Anna's hand. "Stay here. Don't move." He ran after Max, his boots splashing through puddles. At the river's edge, he saw her, a woman, in the water, struggling, barely keeping her head above the surface. Max was already in the water, swimming toward her with powerful strokes. "Hold on!" Jonas shouted. "Max is coming!" The dog reached her. She grabbed his collar with shaking hands. Max turned, swimming back toward shore, pulling her with him. Jonas waded in, the cold water shocking his system. He grabbed the woman under her arms and dragged her onto the muddy bank. She was unconscious, pale, her lips blue. "Papa!" Anna's voice, terrified. "It's okay, Anna." "She's going to be okay." Jonas pulled off his coat and wrapped it around the woman, checked her pulse. It was there, weak but steady. She coughed. Water poured from her mouth. She gasped, her eyes flying open. For a moment, she just stared at him, confused, terrified. "You're safe," Jonas said gently. "My dog pulled you out. You're safe now." Her hand shot out, gripping his arm like a lifeline. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Thank you." Anna knelt beside them, her small hand touching the woman's shoulder. "Papa, is she going to live?" Anna whispered. The woman's eyes found the little girl, and despite everything, she smiled weakly. "Yes, sweetheart, I'm going to live. Thanks to you." Jonas called an ambulance, wrapped the woman in his coat, stayed with her until the paramedics arrived. Before they loaded her into the ambulance, she looked at him one more time. "What's your name?" she asked. "Jonas. And this is Anna and Max." "Lena," she said. "My name is Lena." That night, as Jonas tucked Anna into bed, she asked, "Papa, will we see the lady again?" "I don't know, Liebling. I hope so. She seemed nice." Jonas kissed her forehead. "Go to sleep." But later, alone in his room, Jonas pulled out Maria's handkerchief. He whispered to her, wherever she was. I promised you I wouldn't let anyone else in. But tonight, fate made that choice for me. He didn't know it yet, but everything was about to change. The next day, Jonas was elbow deep in an engine repair when he heard the garage door open. We're closed for lunch, he started to say. But then he saw her, Lena, standing in the doorway, no longer pale and shivering, dressed in casual clothes, her hair pulled back. I hope I'm not interrupting, she said. Jonas straightened up, wiping his hands on a rag. Lena, you're okay. Thanks to you. And Max. As if on cue, Max bounded over from the corner where he'd been napping, his tail wagging furiously. Lena laughed, a real genuine laugh, as Max jumped up to greet her. Hey boy, remember me? You saved my life. Anna peeked out from the office. The river lady. Anna, Jonas said with a warning tone. But Lena just smiled. It's okay. That's probably what I'll always be to her. The river lady. They sat in the small break room. Jonas made terrible coffee. Lena drank it anyway. I wanted to thank you properly, Lena said, and to explain what happened. Jonas listened. Lena explained that she was a police officer. She'd been investigating a smuggling ring operating along the river. She'd gotten too close, and they'd ambushed her near the water. They threw me in, she said quietly. I'm a strong swimmer, but the current, I couldn't fight it. You could have died, Jonas said. I know, I should have. But then Max, her voice broke. It's like he knew, like he was meant to be there. Max, lying at her feet, thumped his tail. He's a good dog, Jonas said. The best. Over the next few weeks, Lena kept coming back. At first, it was to bring gifts. A toy for Anna, a new collar for Max. Then it was to have her police car serviced at Jonas's garage. You don't have to bring your car here, Jonas said. There's a police garage. I know, but you do better work. He tried not to smile. Failed. One afternoon, Lena found Anna struggling with her homework at the small desk in the garage office. What are you working on? Lena asked. Math. I hate math. Want some help? Anna's eyes lit up. Really? They worked together for an hour. Lena was patient, kind. She explained things in ways that made sense to Anna. Jonas watched from the doorway, something tightening in his chest. She was good with Anna, natural, like she'd done this before. Later, when Anna ran off to play with Max, Lena stood. She's wonderful, Lena said. You're doing an amazing job. Jonas shrugged. I'm doing my best. That's all any parent can do. There was something in her voice, a sadness. Do you have kids? Jonas asked. No, I never had the chance. The job always came first. She looked away, but not before Jonas saw the regret in her eyes. The following weekend, Lena invited them to the park. There's an ice cream truck. My treat, she said, to repay you for saving my life. Jonas wanted to say no, wanted to keep his distance, but Anna's excited face made the decision for him. Okay, but we're paying for our own ice cream. Deal. At the park, Anna and Max ran wild, chasing each other, laughing and barking. Jonas and Lena sat on a bench watching. She looks happy, Lena said. She is. For now. What do you mean? Jonas was quiet for a long time. Then slowly, he told her about Maria, about the accident, about the 3 years of trying to be both mother and father to a little girl who missed her mama every single day. I'm sorry, Lena said softly. I can't imagine. You survive. Because you have to. Because they need you to. Lena nodded. You're a good father, Jonas. I try. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Anna ran over, breathless and grinning. Papa, Lena looks like Mama, don't you think? Jonas's breath caught. Lena looked uncomfortable, but Anna just tilted her head, innocent and honest. She has the same kind eyes. That night after Jonas tucked Anna in, he found Lena standing outside the garage looking up at the stars. I'm sorry about what Anna said, Jonas began. Don't be. It's actually really sweet. She shouldn't have. Jonas! Lena turned to face him. Can I tell you something? He nodded. When I was in that water, drowning. I thought about all the things I'd never done, never had. A family, a home, someone who looked at me the way you look at Anna. Her voice trembled. And then Max pulled me out. And you were there. And Anna. And for the first time in years, I thought, maybe I get a second chance. Jonas didn't know what to say. I'm not trying to replace anyone, Lena said quickly. I would never. But being around you two, it feels like coming home. And I haven't felt that in a very long time. Jonas took a step closer. Lena, I promised my wife I'd never let anyone else in. That Anna would be enough. That I didn't need. I understand, Lena said. I do. And I won't. But maybe, Jonas interrupted, maybe Maria would want me to try. To let Anna have more. He pulled out the faded handkerchief from his pocket. This was hers. I've kept it close for 3 years. Like if I held on to it tight enough, she'd come back. He looked at Lena. But she's not coming back. And maybe that's okay. Lena's eyes filled with tears. Maybe it's okay to start again, Jonas whispered. That night, Lena wrote in her journal, I came to say thank you, but now I don't want to leave. I want to stay with them, with this broken, beautiful family that somehow feels like mine. Everything changed 3 weeks later. Jonas was closing up the garage when 3 men walked in. They weren't there for car repairs. We're looking for the cop, one of them said. Tall, scarred face, cold eyes. Jonas's blood ran cold. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. The woman, the one your dog pulled from the river. Where is she? I don't. The man grabbed Jonas by the collar, slamming him against the wall. Don't lie to us. We know she's been coming here. We know you're protecting her. I'm not protecting anyone. I'm just a mechanic. Another man stepped forward, holding a crowbar. Last chance. Where is she? I told you. I don't know. The crowbar came down. Jonas managed to block it with his arm, but the impact sent him sprawling. Max, who'd been locked in the office, went wild, barking, snarling, throwing himself against the door. Should we take care of the dog too? One of them asked. No, the leader said. Just send a message. They trashed the garage, smashed equipment, broke windows. Then they left. Jonas lay on the floor, his arm throbbing, the garage in ruins around him. Lena found him an hour later. She'd come by to drop off dinner. Instead, she found chaos. Jonas! She dropped to her knees beside him. Oh God, what happened? Your friends, Jonas said through gritted teeth. The smugglers. They're looking for you. Lena's face went white. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She helped him up, checked his injuries. His arm was bruised but not broken. Where's Anna? Lena asked urgently. With the neighbor. She's safe. Thank God. Lena looked around at the destruction. This is my fault. If I hadn't kept coming here, if I hadn't... Stop, Jonas said. This isn't your fault. Yes, it is. I put you and Anna in danger. I should have stayed away. Jonas grabbed her hand. Maybe. But you didn't. And now we deal with it. That night, after they'd cleaned up what they could, Jonas confronted Lena. You need to stop this investigation. It's too dangerous. I can't. If I stop now, they win. They'll keep smuggling, keep hurting people. And if you keep going, someone might die. Maybe you, maybe me, maybe... His voice broke. Maybe Anna. The name hung between them like a knife. Lena closed her eyes. I can't lose another person I love, Jonas said quietly. I can't do it again. Another person you love, Lena whispered. Jonas realized what he'd said, but he didn't take it back. Yes, another person I love. The next day, Lena went to her captain. I'm requesting to be removed from the case, she said. Why? It's gotten too personal. I'm compromised. Her captain studied her. You're the best investigator I have. You're this close to breaking them. I know, but people I care about are getting hurt. I can't risk that. Are you sure about this? Lena thought about Jonas, about Anna, about the life she'd started to imagine with them. Yes, I'm sure. But that night, Anna changed everything. Jonas had just told her that Lena might not be coming around anymore, that it was safer that way. Anna's eyes filled with tears. But I love her, Papa. She's like Mama, but different, but still good. I know, Liebling, but sometimes we have to let people go to keep them safe. But she saved our life too, Anna cried. You said Mama would want you to be happy. Mama would want us to help Lena. Jonas pulled her close as she sobbed into his chest, and he realized something. He'd spent 3 years trying to protect Anna from more loss, but in doing so, he'd also protected her from more love. And that wasn't living. That was just surviving. The trial came 2 weeks later. Lena had changed her mind. She decided to testify, to finish what she started. I can't run, she told Jonas. If I run from this, I'll run from everything, including you and Anna. Jonas wanted to argue, but he understood. Sometimes the only way through is forward. The courtroom was packed. The smuggling ringleaders sat at the defendant's table, their faces hard and threatening. Lena took the stand. Her voice was steady as she outlined the evidence, the crimes, the victims. But Jonas could see her hands shaking. He sat in the back row, his heart in his throat. Anna was at home with the neighbor, safe. But Lena was exposed, vulnerable. When one of the defendants stood up and shouted threats, Jonas stood too. He didn't say anything, just stood, making his presence known. Lena's eyes found his across the crowded room, and she smiled. A small, grateful smile that said, I'm not alone. I can do this. The verdict came after 3 days of deliberation. Guilty on all counts. The smuggling ring was finished. Lena had won. But as she left the courthouse, surrounded by reporters and fellow officers, she looked exhausted, drained. Jonas was waiting by his car. When she saw him, something in her face crumbled. She walked over, and without a word, he pulled her into his arms. You did it, he whispered into her hair. I did it, she repeated, her voice breaking. But I'm so tired, Jonas. I'm so tired of fighting alone. He pulled back, cupping her face in his hands. Then stop fighting alone. Let me fight with you. Let Anna fight with you. Let Max fight with you. He smiled through his own tears. You're not alone anymore, Lena. Not if you don't want to be. Lena kissed him, right there in the courthouse parking lot, with reporters watching and cameras flashing. She kissed him like she was drowning again, and he was her lifeline. I don't want to be alone anymore, she whispered against his lips. Good, because we're not letting you go. If you believe that sometimes love begins with an act of courage, leave a heart below. The weeks after the trial were healing for everyone. Jonas's garage slowly came back together. Lena helped during her days off. Anna and Max supervised, offering unhelpful but enthusiastic commentary. No, Papa, that wrench is too big, Anna would shout. She's right, you know, Lena would add with a grin. Jonas would just shake his head and smile. This was happiness. But Lena still struggled. She had nightmares, would wake up gasping, feeling like she was drowning all over again. The first time it happened at Jonas's apartment, she was mortified. I'm sorry. I should go home. I don't want to wake Anna. But Jonas just made tea, sat with her on the couch. Didn't say anything, just stayed. Thank you, Lena whispered. For what? For not trying to fix it. For just being here. Jonas took her hand. I know about nightmares, about not being able to sleep, about feeling like you're failing because you can't just move on. Lena leaned against his shoulder. How did you survive it? After Maria, Jonas was quiet for a long time. I don't know if I did. Survive, I mean. I think I just existed, went through the motions. Until you. He pulled out the faded handkerchief from his pocket. I've carried this for 3 years, like a talisman, like if I just held on tight enough, she'd come back. He held it out to Lena. But she's not coming back. And I think she'd want me to let go, to let someone else in. Lena looked at the handkerchief, her eyes filling with tears. I can't take this. It's hers. I know. And that's exactly why I want you to have it. Because she would have liked you. She would have wanted Anna to have someone like you. He pressed it into Lena's hand. Let this be a bridge between what was and what could be. Lena clutched the handkerchief to her chest and cried, and Jonas held her while she did. One Saturday, they decided to plant something. We should make this place beautiful, Anna announced, like a real home. So they went to the garden center and picked out rose bushes. Red ones, vibrant and strong. They planted them in front of the garage, all four of them digging in the dirt. Even Max helped, digging enthusiastic holes in completely wrong places. Roses mean courage and love, Lena said as they patted down the soil around the first bush. We need both of those. Anna looked up at her. Do you love us, Lena? The adults froze. Lena swallowed hard. Yes, Anna. I love you very much. Like a mama? Jonas opened his mouth to intervene, but Lena spoke first. I could never replace your mama. No one could. But if you'd let me, I'd like to be someone who loves you. Someone you can count on. Anna thought about this very seriously. Then she threw her arms around Lena's neck. Okay, you can be my Lena mama. Is that okay? Lena looked at Jonas over Anna's head, tears streaming down her face. Jonas nodded. That's perfect, Liebling, he said. Anna's artwork began to change. Where before she'd drawn pictures of her, Papa, and Max, now there was always a fourth figure, a woman with dark hair and a kind smile. She titled one drawing, My Family. Jonas found it on his workbench one morning and stared at it for a long time. When Lena came by later, he showed it to her. Look, he said simply. Lena looked at the drawing, at the four figures holding hands, at the dog running circles around them. She considers me family, Lena whispered. We all do. Lena traced the drawing with one finger. I never thought I'd have this. A family, people who needed me, wanted me. Jonas pulled her close. Well, you do now, and we're not letting go. One evening, as they sat at dinner together, the three of them and Max waiting patiently for scraps, Jonas asked the question that had been on his mind for weeks. Lena, I heard you might be getting transferred to another department in another city. Lena set down her fork. Anna's eyes went wide. You're leaving? It's just an offer, Lena said carefully. A promotion, more money, more responsibility. But you'd have to leave Berlin, Jonas asked. Yes. The word hung in the air like smoke. Anna's eyes filled with tears. I don't want you to go. Lena reached across the table and took Anna's hand. I haven't decided anything yet. I promise. But later that night, after Anna was asleep, Lena stood outside looking at the rose bushes they'd planted. They were already blooming, small red flowers opening to the sky. Jonas found her there. What are you thinking? He asked. That I've spent my whole career chasing the next thing, the next case, the next promotion, always moving, never staying. She turned to him. But for the first time, I want to stay. I want to watch these roses grow. I want to watch Anna grow. I want. What do you want, Lena? She smiled through her tears. I want this. I want you. I want a home. If you believe that family can be rebuilt from loss, hit like to share this hope. 3 months later, the dinner table always had 4 place settings now, 3 bowls, and 1 small dish on the floor for Max. It had become routine, natural. Anna had stopped saying Lena and started saying Mama Lena. At first, Lena would correct her gently. Just Lena's fine. But eventually she stopped correcting, because it felt right. Jonas would catch her eye across the table and smile, and Lena would smile back. This was their family now. The job offer came back. The captain called Lena personally. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, he said. Chief of Detectives, Major Crimes. You'd be running the whole department. I know, Lena said. It's incredible. So you'll take it? Lena looked out the window at the garage, at Jonas working on a car, at Anna and Max playing in the small yard, at the rose bushes blooming red and beautiful. Can I call you back? She asked. Of course. But Lena, don't take too long. They need an answer by the end of the week. That evening, Lena couldn't eat dinner. What's wrong? Anna asked. Don't you like Papa's cooking? Jonas shot her a look. My cooking is excellent. It's not the cooking, Lena said. She set down her fork. I need to tell you both something. Anna's face fell. You're leaving? No, I don't know yet. She explained the job offer, the promotion, the move to Hamburg. That's far away, Anna said quietly. I know. But it's a good opportunity, Jonas said, though his voice was tight. You should consider it. I have been considering it. That's the problem. Lena stood up and walked to the window, looked out at the roses. For so long, my career was everything, the only thing. I never had a reason to stay anywhere, so I always moved on, always took the next opportunity. She turned back to them. But now I have a reason. 2 reasons. 3, if you count Max. Anna jumped up. You're staying? If you'll have me. If Jonas wants... But Jonas was already standing, already crossing to her. He pulled her into his arms. We want you to stay, he said. God, Lena, we want you to stay. Anna crashed into both of them, wrapping her small arms around their legs. We're a family, she shouted. We're a real family. Max barked, running circles around all of them. Lena called her captain the next day. I'm honored by the offer, she said, but I have to decline. Are you sure? This kind of opportunity doesn't come around often. I know, but I've found something here that's more important than any promotion. What's that? A home. 6 months later, Jonas and Lena stood in front of the garage. The roses had grown tall and full, blooming constantly. Anna had drawn a new picture. This one showed a wedding, stick figures in fancy clothes, a dog wearing a bow tie. Are you sure about this? Jonas asked, holding the small velvet box. Are you? Lena countered. Jonas laughed. Then he got down on one knee. Lena, you saved my life when I didn't even know I was drowning. You gave Anna a mother. You gave Max a best friend. You gave me a reason to believe in second chances. He opened the box, a simple ring, beautiful in its simplicity. Will you marry me? Lena dropped to her knees in front of him. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. They kissed as the morning sun lit up the roses, turning them into flames of red. Anna cheered from the doorway. Max barked joyfully, and in that moment, surrounded by roses and love and the family they'd built from loss, they were complete. Later, Jonas placed Maria's handkerchief in a frame on the wall, not to forget, but to honor. Beneath it, he hung Anna's drawing of their new family, the past and the future side by side, just as it should be.